as our preacher comes, it's a man from Israel. He is going to speak to us this morning, and he has asked me to read almost a whole chapter from Genesis. So I'll read Genesis 32, and I'll start from verse 3. Genesis 32, I'll start from verse 3. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, instructing them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, Thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male servants, female servants. I have sent to tell my lord in order that I may find favor in your sight." And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you, and there are 400 men with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. He divided the people who were with him and the flocks and the herds and camels into 2 camps, thinking, if Esau comes to one camp and attacks it, then the camp that is left will escape. We go to verse 9. And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, Return to your country and to your kindred, that I may do you good. I am not worthy of the least of all the deeds of steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, that he may come and attack me, the mothers with the children. But you said, I will surely do you good, and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." So he stayed there that night, and from what he had with him, he took a present to his brother Esau, 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their calves, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. There he handed over to his servants every drove by itself, and said to his servant, "Pass on ahead of me and put a space between drove and drove." He instructed the first, "When Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, 'To whom do you belong? Where are you going? And whose are these ahead of you?' Then you shall say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present sent to my lord Esau. And moreover, he is behind us.'" He likewise instructed the second and the third, and all who followed the droves. "You shall say the same thing to Esau when you find him, and you shall say, 'Moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us.' For he thought, I may appease him with the present that goes ahead of me, and afterwards I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me." Verse 21. So the present passed on ahead of him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had, and Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint, and he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with man and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." The sun rose upon him as he passed Peniel, limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the people of Israel do not eat the sinew of the thigh that is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip on the sinew of the thigh. Please help me to welcome our visitor from Israel, from Jerusalem. He is our preacher this morning. Please come through, sir.
All right. Just got back from a trip to the Vic Falls. What a wonderful place you guys have got here. Fantastic. But guys, the road up there, it needs some serious work. I've got some road engineer friends back home in Israel. They could come and fix things pretty quickly if you give me the go-ahead. But the potholes, you need somebody to pay attention to your potholes as well. Anyway, that's not why I'm here. You're probably wondering why I'm limping. And I've pulled a tendon in my hip. Actually, I didn't tear it, God did. And I'm glad He did, because it transformed my life. Let me tell you about it. To understand what's happened and its significance, first let me give you some background. You see, when I was born with my twin brother Esau, he came out of our mother's womb first, but I was grasping his heel. And that's why they named me Jacob. It means God will be your rear guard or your protection. And it implied that I would have something against my older brother. The Lord had given my mother, Rebecca, a prophecy to the effect that I would rule over my older brother, even though I was the younger one. And as so often the case, that spoke of my character, and also as a sign of what was to come. As my life has shown subsequently, I did indeed cheat my father, deceive my own brother, and steal his birthright and blessing. I would be known as a deceiver. As a result, my life was always a mess, and I spent years trying to fix it. But the harder I tried, the worse things got. Long ago, we'd stopped speaking to each other. As we grew up and started our own families, we drifted even further apart. I didn't see him for years. To deal with Esau's anger and my guilt, I ran away, trying to ignore the situation. But that didn't help. I had bouts of despair and depression. As time went on, I became more and more paranoid about my brother. It got to the point where I was absolutely terrified of him. Eventually, I couldn't stand it any longer. I was desperate to build bridges. I had to do something. So I decided to offer Esau a huge chunk of my herds, hoping that would appease his anger. I sent him envoys to tell him that I wanted to reconcile. He sent them back, saying he was going to send 400 men. I was petrified. So I devised a plan to divide my family and herds into groups and sent them ahead to meet him. After I put everything in place in the Jabbok River, late one afternoon, I sent my family across and then prepared for the night, ready to do battle the next day. But then the strangest thing happened. I suddenly realized I was alone. Ever since I could remember, I'd grown up using people to get what I wanted. That's just what I'd done now with my family and my possessions. All to appease my elder brother. For the first time that I could recall, I was alone. And I was very afraid. I didn't realize it, but my physical and aloneness during the evening mirrored my emotional and spiritual aloneness. And in that loneliness, I cried out to God. For the first time in my life, I'd come to the end of myself. I had nowhere else to turn except to God. So I prayed and asked him to help. Isn't that typical? Often we try to fix things ourselves, and when we fail, we finally think about asking God. The irony was, God knew everything about me. He knew exactly where I was, emotionally and spiritually. As long as we think that we can do it ourselves, we're telling God we don't need him. Yet it took me a whole night of wrestling to learn that crucial lesson. As I wrestled with my emotions, this man suddenly appeared. I couldn't recognize him, of course, because it was dark. But he said something out of the blue about me that really made me mad. The next thing I recall, we were wrestling. Now, I'd played and fought youngsters since I was a youngster myself. So I thought it would be easy to deal with this no-good busybody. But it didn't work. The more I struggled, the more he carried on. He wasn't violent, you understand. I just couldn't get the better of him. All my life, I'd used people for my ends, manipulating them for what I wanted. But now, the more I tried to trick him, the more he countered my every move. Eventually, after we'd wrestled all night, just before it got light, he stopped. Despite my exhaustion after our long battle, I wasn't prepared to give up. I wasn't prepared to accept defeat. When he saw that I wasn't going to let up, he touched my thigh. The pain from the torn tendon was excruciating. And of course, that stopped me in my tracks immediately. I looked at my hip. I couldn't see anything wrong outside. But inside, the pain was something else. As he did that, I realized instantly that that wasn't a human action. No human could do that. And it came to me that this person wasn't human. It wasn't quite light yet, and so I still couldn't see his face. Yet it gradually dawned on me who I'd been fighting. And so I asked for his blessing. But instead of answering directly, he asked me a question. What's your name? When I told him, he did an amazing thing. He changed my name. Now, I ask you, who has the authority to change a man's name? A man's name is directed by Yahweh. It speaks of his character. And so as he changed my name to Israel, I understood who this person was that I'd been fighting all night. He knew everything about me, my whole character. He was none other than Jehovah himself. That took my breath away, I can tell you. On top of that was the significance of my new name. Israel means, may God strive for me. Isn't that amazing? Imagine, here I was striving all my life, and then I end up striving with my Creator. And now he says he will strive for me. How gracious, how humbling. Here I'd been Jacob the deceiver. Now I was Israel the overcomer. Thinking I would confirm my suspicion about who he was, I then asked him his name. But instead of telling me, he asked why I wanted to know. Then he blessed me and left. Just like that, he was gone. It was all over. As mysteriously as he'd come, he was gone. As I reflected on that amazing event, I was both awed and grateful. I set up an altar there to God and worshipped. I called the place Peniel, which means face to face with God. I took time to reflect on my life, not just with others, but most importantly, with God. I recalled how I had deceived and cheated, manipulated and controlled, all because I was only concerned about me, myself, and I. It had taken the crisis with my brother Esau to bring me back to God in prayer. And he had answered very directly. In wrestling with me, he came to my exact point of need. Spiritually and emotionally, I was broken. Ironically, the only way he could fix me would be to break me physically. I realized that in order to be reconciled to my brother, I first had to be reconciled to my Lord. I had started the evening alone and very afraid. Now, with the morning, I was alone again, but no longer afraid. I was at peace, both with myself and with God. And I have 4 proofs of His grace. My limp, my new name, my 11 sons, and a restored brother. Surely God blessed me there. So what about you? What are you struggling with? You might not be like I was, fighting other people. But is it possible that you're actually fighting God as I was? Before anything meaningful happens in your life, you first have to put things right with God. If you're in that position, I hope you can do that today. Are you feeling guilty or afraid? Trying desperately to cover it up? You can't hide from God. He knows everything about you. He created you, and He can fix you. The question is, will you let Him? Is there a broken relationship that you need to restore? Before you can be reconciled, you have to do business with God. I hope you can do that today. When I realized who it was that I'd been fighting with most of my life, I had to stop and let Him take over. What about you? Will you do business with God today? God bless you.